Well, hello there, my dear children of the apocalypse. How are we doing today? Welcome to Doing the Opposite. And this means so much to me because this is one of the most valuable life lessons I've learned and implemented into my life. Think of a kid. If you tell a kid, don't press the big red button, what is the kid going to do? He's going to do the opposite. He's going to just press that button as soon as he has the opportunity to do so. And that's one of the traits that kids have. Now, when I was growing up, I always looked at children as these little annoying, just annoying creatures, right? You know, they're loud, they're screaming all the time, they're running around, they're chaotic. A little child is frankly quite chaotic, but what children do, and I realized this because I was hanging out with a lot of people. Maybe it was a girl I was dating, and she had, her cousins, for example, were like, between those ages of 5 and 8, where they're kind of problematic kids before they get into primary school. Kindergarten, running around, biting things, throwing things, destroying, annihilating. And what I absolutely loved about those little creatures is that they possess something that the human loses over the course of their journey through school, and that is they lose some of that sharpness. They lose what I call the brutal honesty. And if a kid comes up to you, a little kid, and he looks at you and he says, "Oh, you're fat," and then just runs off, that's going to hurt a whole lot more than if your friend said it. And that, we have to think about that, right? If a friend of mine comes to me, a person that's been in my life, let's say for, the past 20 years, and he said, "Hey, you're fat," I would probably brush it off and ignore him. But when a little kid tells you that, he's telling you the truth. It's almost like the universe bestowed these little creatures to just not have a filter on them whatsoever, and they just say whatever they want without really having to think about it. And I spent a really long time playing around with thoughts, with these theories, until I realized that, frankly, once you enter primary school, you've entered this indoctrination process, right? You call it the matrix or whatever, but there's definitely a set of rules that are, brought out, and you are told to behave in certain ways and to say certain things and not to say certain things. And so that chaotic child that's running around, punching things, obviously you have to start controlling him. So a huge portion of this is great. A huge portion of what school does and what society tells you, and even social media to some extent, there's rules. And we have rules so that we can have society moving in a direction that's hopefully promising for the rest of the world and really the future of our species. But we have to have some of that chaos. It always comes back to the yin and yang, and I believe that there has to be the good with the bad. You have to almost take all of it. And when you take the chaos out of the child and you take that brutal honesty out of the child, I think you induce a little bit of chaos of your own. And that chaos is, it's not overt chaos, it's covert chaos. I think that chaos starts to accumulate within the person because you can't bring it out. If you think of it in a state of energy, if you think about your body as a state of, you have 100% of energy every time you wake up. You have to do something with that energy. You just go to work for 8 hours, depending on the type of work. Let's say it's an office job, you're sitting at a desk, you're watching a computer screen. You're actually not using up that energy. You're maybe going to use up about 10-15% tops. And when you get back home, and let's say you don't do any sports, you don't hit the gym, the energy levels actually remain the same. And what tends to happen is I believe that energy starts converting into something worse. And when you go to bed, when you go to sleep, and you've still got 80% of the energy in the bank, I think your brain's going to just knock off. It's going to start thinking about crazy things. You're going to have dreams that are just not congruent with what you're trying to do. And I don't think you're going to have a life that's going in a direction that you're happy with. You have to drain the batteries all the time. So I think you have to tap into that chaotic state of inner mind. And to do that, sometimes you have to do the opposite. Let's say you're dating. Men have been brought up to be more feminine these days, to be more emotional, to be more touchy. Tell a woman all your feelings and all your emotions and all the past traumas and all that. Open up to a woman, and then she'll be so rejoiced with the fact that you have this heart, that you're different than the other guys, and then you're going to get her. And it doesn't work. and everybody knows that it doesn't work, but you keep trying to do the same thing because you went through school, right? Primary school, high school, faculty, university, academic work. You're continuously reminded this is how you're supposed to play the game. It's almost like the world gives you this, piece of paper with rules on top. Your parents will tell you what to do. The school tells you what to do. The teacher tells you what you do. Your friends tell you what to do. Your boss at work tells you what to do. And you follow this template and you realize that half of the things on that paper, maybe all of them, are completely wrong, or at least they don't work. So you're left a little bit confused because you're at this age where the world is supposed to be giving you spoils, right? You're waiting for your treasure to be found and you just can't get the hold of it because you're playing by the wrong rules. And so what you start doing is you start experimenting. I remember myself back in 2020, I had this moment of revelation where I discovered a forum and I was reading some of the things on this forum. And the more I was reading this philosophy almost, the more I felt repulsed by it because it went against everything that was on my rulebook piece of paper that I was walking around life with, thinking, oh yeah, this is the success. I just follow everything here, these 10 steps to victory, and it didn't work. So I set out to prove the people on this forum wrong. It was my entire intention. It was going to be, I'm going to prove to these people that this piece of paper that I've been given that hasn't worked for the past 20 years will work now because I've decided that it's going to work. And rest assured it didn't. So I went out there into the world, whether it was dating, whether it was jobs, whether it was just anything that I was trying to do with business. The more that I was going away from my existing template, the more life started to just piece together. It was almost like I said, in the movie Yes Man from Jim Carrey, it felt like that. It felt like I had to cross this barrier. I had to cross the bridge. I had to take a leap of faith into the unknown, into the void. But once I opened up my hands and I said, on my arms, and I said, you know what, let me just do the opposite. Let me just try. And life just started to piece itself together so marvelously that I was blown away by the actual congruency by which you can get from, a low level, low functioning, low level of self-esteem, low level of happiness, how quickly those things will step up once you start tapping into what I believe is a chaotic inner child. Now, sometimes you might be inclined, motivated, or tempted to tap into this inner chaos and do the opposite thing in spite, just out of spite, just to do it sort of in a destructive way. And you have to start to realize when that is. You have to sort of feel when you're doing something because it's almost borderline evil or because you're actually trying to prove a theory wrong. I'm going to finish this one off with a thought from Jordan Peterson, which I absolutely adore. And he said that in order to have a good debate, we have to risk offending people. And I think what he means by that is that we have to risk being wrong. Every time we have a debate with somebody, we have to risk being in the wrong. We have to risk, prodding them. We have to risk taking a stick and just stabbing at the wasp nest to see what's going to happen. Because somebody in the past, actually many people in the past had to do that. Somebody in the prehistoric times had to go and try each and every one of the mushrooms so that we know today which ones are edible, which ones are not, and which ones will make you trip balls. That is the process that we've gone through the learning. And I think what started to happen today is we've stopped tapping in to the inner child. We've stopped trying to be wrong. I think we're going through life constantly looking for the next template. We're constantly trying to find what is the set of rules that I can follow today that will make me successful in life? Because everybody else is doing it, and most of them it's not working out for, but I'm going to try it nonetheless because throw enough shit at the wall, some of it is going to stick. It doesn't work. Disconnect yourself from that thought. Start doing the opposite. Do one per week. Do one thing per week that's different from what everybody else is doing and see the results. Do one thing per day. Do one thing, choose one. Just anything that you see your friends doing, your family do, your co-workers do, society do, social media do, anything. Just pick one thing and do the exact opposite. Wait a couple of days, weeks, months, years, and see if it's made any difference whatsoever. And I think what you're going to realize is that the more of them you do, the more life starts to make sense. Don't do them too much, but do tap into your inner chaotic child. Do the opposite. Do the right thing. Take care and safe flying.